All right, let's talk about the OSCP. You already know it's a technical beast, but what if the biggest vulnerability isn't in the code, but inside your own head? Today, we are hacking the one thing that truly separates a pass from a fail, your mindset.
First off, let's just acknowledge this feeling right here. That anxiety, that pressure, it's totally real, and trust me, you are not alone. See, the OSCP isn't just testing your technical skills, it's quietly auditing your sleep, your ego, and your caffeine intake. So yeah, if your heart is doing little Nmap scans in your chest right now, you are definitely in the right place.
Here is the fundamental shift we're going to talk about. For most people, that first attempt feels like a video game boss fight. It's emotional, it's chaotic, it's all about brute force. But a successful attempt? That feels completely different. It feels like a long, structured, professional consulting engagement. Same person, same keyboard, totally different mindset. Look, after a failed attempt, it's rarely your technical skills that are the problem. The real enemies are these three things. Number one, shame latency. That's that split second between thinking this is hard and thinking I am stupid. Number two, scope drift. You know, chasing every single rabbit hole because you're scared you'll miss something. And number three, emotional burn rate. Basically, spending all your willpower and focus in the first 6 hours. These are the things we actually need to hack.
So, that brings us to our first section. The real exam environment isn't the network you're VPN'd into. No, the real exam environment is you, at 3 in the morning arguing with an error message. It's all about managing your own biology. And this right here, this says it all. The failed approach is total chaos. You start sleep-deprived because, adrenaline will get me through. You're just snacking whenever. You've got Slack and Discord open in the background, just draining your focus. The successful approach, on the other hand, is disciplined. 8 hours of sleep is non-negotiable. Meals are at fixed times, and all distractions are just gone.
This is the absolute core idea. Your brain isn't some infinite well of energy. It's more like a critical production server, and if you violate its service-level agreements with bad sleep or no breaks, the whole system starts to degrade. Seriously, a 20-minute walk can be way more productive than 2 hours of exhausted brute forcing. Now let's talk about scope, but not network scope. I'm talking about mental scope. On a failed attempt, the digital workspace was pure chaos. I'm talking about this many browser tabs open for every single target. 15! Can you picture that? 3 different exploit DB pages, a bunch of random blogs, guides for things that aren't even on the machine, all opened just in case. That's not research. That's just a symptom of panic. It's mental scope drift. So, the solution was a dead simple but super strict rule that I imposed on myself. A hard limit on the amount of information I was allowed to process at one time. Just 3 tabs. That's it. This tiny little constraint forces you to be deliberate. If you want to open a new tab, you have to make a conscious decision to close an old one. It's a simple trick, but it's incredibly effective at cutting out the noise and keeping you focused. So let's redefine this term for ourselves. Personal scope isn't about the IP addresses you're allowed to touch. It's about aggressively, ruthlessly limiting what you allow into your attention, especially when you're tired and under pressure. Your attention is your single most valuable resource on exam day, period. Okay, so managing your attention is step 1. Now, in section 2, let's build on that. Let's create an actual concrete strategy for that entire 24-hour window. It's time to trade that vague, anxious mood for a solid plan. And I want you to really think about this for a second. Your current plan for the exam, is it a real strategy or is it just a mood? Something like, I'll enumerate everything, then I'll find a phone, and then I'll pwn stuff. Because a mood falls apart the second you get stuck. A strategy holds you steady. This is what a real strategy looks like. It's so simple it could fit on a sticky note next to your monitor. It's got specific time blocks for everything, including a time to pivot, a time to clean up your notes, and, this is crucial, a dedicated block for sleep. This isn't just a suggestion. It's a schedule you commit to before you start, so your logic is in charge, not your emotions. And that schedule is so important because of this fundamental truth. The exam does not reward stubbornness. It's not about being the smartest person, it's about being the best project manager of your own energy. Knowing when to stop banging your head against one wall and go look for another door, that's the skill that actually gets you points. To actually enforce that controlled reallocation, here's a super practical tool, a 30-minute timer. Every time you start chasing a new idea or a new exploit path, set that timer.
When it goes off, you are forced to stop and make a conscious call. Is this promising, or is it probably dead? This one technique can literally save you from losing hours down a single rabbit hole.
All right, Section 3. This is where we level up our entire approach. We're going to stop thinking like a student taking a test and start thinking like a professional consultant on a high-stakes, billable engagement. And that means getting serious about logging, sleep, and even the financial side of things.
Let's just be blunt for a second. Failing isn't just about the retake fee. When you actually factor in the value of your time, all those hours of prep, and the 24 hours of the exam itself, a single failure represents a pretty big investment. Now, this isn't to scare you. It's to motivate you to treat this attempt with the seriousness it deserves.
And here it is. This might be one of the most important and most counterintuitive truths of this whole exam. Pushing through the night, telling yourself that real hackers don't sleep is a trap. You will absolutely spend 3 hours misreading a simple config file that a rested version of you would have solved in 10 minutes. Sleep is not a weakness. It is a strategic tool.
And your notes, they shouldn't just be an afterthought for the final report. Your log file is your mental stabilizer during the exam itself. That one little note you made 10 hours ago, something like, weird SUID binary on this box. That can be the key that unlocks root later on. That's why you log everything, especially the dead ends. They're not failures, they're data points.
Which brings us to our final section, putting this all together into a playbook. Look, a failed attempt is not a judgment on your ability. You should think of it as a very expensive, very detailed log file. And now, your job is to read that log and use it to reconfigure your entire approach.
This is the mental flip that changes absolutely everything. Stop thinking of your next try as a second chance to redeem some kind of failure. It's not. It's a brand new experiment, and this time, you're starting with way better data. This simple reframe turns every little setback from a judgment into just another data point.
So what does this playbook actually look like? It's not some 50-page PDF of commands. No, it's boring. It's short. And it fits on a single piece of paper you can tape to your desk. It has simple checkboxes for stuff like take a 15-minute walk or review all notes for box A. Ticking those little boxes gives you these crucial psychological wins when you feel like you're getting nowhere.
So I want to leave you with this question to answer for yourself. Before you schedule your next attempt, fill in these blanks. I want you to define what success looks like, not based on the final score, but on whether you followed your process. Maybe your rules are pivot after 90 minutes, sleep for at least 4 hours, and log every single command. When you define success on your own terms, you take back control from the clock, you put yourself in charge, and that is the mindset that passes this exam.